Hello, welcome back to my corner of the internet. If you're new here, my name is Kaylee. I'm a writer and a teacher, and I've started making these videos recently to kind of chronicle my writing journey. I have lots of writing projects in the queue, and I'd like to take you along as I write them and publish them and do all the fun things with them. Also on the teaching side of things, I like to share kind of what's going on in my life as far as education, because not only do I work in a school classroom setting, I also like to experiment with creating some of my own curriculums and some of my own materials and then using them in classes that I provide and I design myself. So welcome, I'm glad you're here. So this is another check-in. My last video was to document what was happening with two big writing projects. One is a fantasy fiction novel for young adults called Project Tears. Like, that's not the title, it's just an unnamed project. I've got my computer here, so if you see me keep on looking over to the side, I'm looking at my computer to reference some things. But I have Project Tears, which is a longer novel in its first draft. And then Project Painter is like a 3rd, 4th, 5th grade 5-chapter novel for kids that kind of focuses on things like moral values. It's in a classical tone, so it's just something fun that I love to do. And I also write children's books that are part of a series called The World of Sugarcane Lane, which is a title that is inspired by my childhood growing up on a farm. And so the little lane, I guess you could say, that's kind of in the middle of the property that leads to the back part of the property is called Sugarcane Lane. So I write little children's books with anthropomorphic animals and sometimes humans, but it's just wholesome, great, happy, positive literature that you can trust that your kids are reading. You can trust them when your kids read them. So those are kind of like writing projects. Now, check in on Project Tears. So I don't remember what my word count was a few days ago when I uploaded a video. I think it was somewhere in the vein of 42,000 something, and my goal is around 120,000. I don't know how my final draft is going to fluctuate in relation to 120K words. I'm scared that I don't want it to be under 100,000. I do not want this book to be under 100,000 words by no means. I need for it to be at the very least 100,000. So if I shoot for 100,000, that's a little too close for comfort to me, to be too close to, a minus 100K, word count, because it could drop. And then I'm like, oh crap, now what do I add? What do I do? Do I need to add anything? What if it's a finished work and it's done and I'm under 100K? So I'm shooting for 120K. Now, I am on chapter 12 at this point, and right now, as of today, I'm sitting at 44,048 words. That's almost halfway, and it thrills me. I am super, super thrilled. Writing this first draft has been pulling teeth. Like, I started back in maybe September. So if I meet my personal trajectory deadline of March, then that means I would have spent about 6 months writing this book, which I'm thrilled with. Like, that's great. Like, that's a great turnaround for me to write a book that's at least 120K words. And I'm gonna say it in a first draft in 6 months. Like, that makes me so happy. Like, I'm very pleased with myself. So, not to toot my own horn, but that, to me, that's a really great timeline. So at 44,048 words, I'm on chapter 12, and I think I'm aiming for somewhere around 35 to 40 chapters. So really, the end product is very median. Like, it's not ridiculously large. It wouldn't be ridiculously low, but I'm really focusing and crunching hard here to finish at least this first draft. Sometimes I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, and I know we all probably go through this as writers, but you want your first draft to be like bang for the money. Like, I've got this, like, par for course, bam, done. This is great, the first go around. But you have to then be okay with it not being perfect. And so that's where I'm at, is that I have a specific way of writing my first draft where I'm like writing it as though it were my final draft, because to me that feels excellent. Like, that feels like the best way to write this first draft, because then the true editing and the true creative work after that can begin, where I'm fixing, filling, changing, switching, adjusting all of these elements of this story to only make it better. Like, I feel like if I wrote my first draft to the best of my ability, then I have reached that maximum and I can truly move forward with this process. Because if I just like write and it's horrible the first go round, then I feel like I'm spending way too long on something that could have been done well the first time. I don't know if that makes sense. Maybe it's just like an excellent standard, within me, but I just want to finish this first draft excellent. in an excellent way. That way I can truly have like almost like a fresh start. Like I've crossed this line and I've made it as far as I can go. And then I'm going to push myself further and make it better with subsequent drafts and revisions. So I'm really excited about that. So 44,048 words. So as of today, and I need to really go back and reference my own videos so I can see the time frame. And now, confession, I haven't written every day. Like honestly, I wrote somewhere around 2,000 words today, like just now. Like it's a day off for me. Haven't had anything else to do. I've written around 2,000 words, which is great. And so now you see that the 6-month, timeline makes sense. But that's where I'm at. And so I had like this thing happen 2 days ago when I was plucking away a little bit at it. And I'm realizing, for me, I don't know if you guys are like this as well, but for me, I keep a lot of this information digitally online. There are very few times with this particular book that I have sat down and put pen to paper. And written things out. Like I have notes places, like little notes places and printouts and things that I have referenced and kept, but I don't, for the most part. I type things out. I pluck them in really, really fast. But I'm finding that a digital process for me isn't as clear. It doesn't produce as clear results as perhaps writing. As an educator, we realize that typing things and putting them on a digital surface processes differently than actually writing them. So, everybody's different. Some people may function perfectly on a digital screen, and then some may only ever be able to write, like pen to paper, which is fine. That's good. But for me, I feel like I remember things better. My withdrawal is better. And I feel more organized if I can just write things out on paper to reference them later. I think the experience of the motions that I've done my whole life instead of tiny, micro plucky movements don't solidify as well in the brain. So I got to this place where I realized I've done very little pen to paper work on this novel, and I think I need to start. So I have a journal set aside. I've got a bunch of sticky notes and things that I need to start putting in it and start just really work, because there are a lot of like plots and subplots that I feel like I'm unclear on as far as where they happen in the novel. Now I've got most of everything mapped out. But as far as the main plot line goes, I'm set on the main plot line. I know generally what happens there. But then when it comes to some of these subplot lines, see, like romance isn't a main plot line. Like it's important to the story, but it doesn't take up a whole lot of the story. It's just kind of it's almost like a plot device, I guess. But it's woven in really specifically and really well. Like it's connected to a bunch of lore. The romance is connected to a bunch of prophecy and foretelling and things. And so it's just that potential love interest there is important somewhat to the novel. And then there's a couple of other things that have to do with, prophecy and foretelling and things that are subplots, but the way that they unfold, I find that even at chapter 12, I feel like I need to really clarify when those things happen, when some things are revealed and why that happens at that time, and then what it leads to after that. So that's why I need to get out pen and paper and sticky notes and really start working this on a surface with my hands, and not be so reliant on a digital surface. Now, I think a digital surface is great for being able to have it anywhere and being able to pull this out at any time, maybe even on my phone, and like type away and pluck away when I have an idea or have something. But just a pen and paper seems to work a lot better for me. So I don't have Project Painter right here. It's just in the other room, but I worked through a lot of chapter 2 of Project Painter. So I spent some devoted time making my way through that. This draft that I'm on for Project Painter is draft 3. It's coming along, but I still feel like I might end up doing one more draft just to really bring some of these characters to life a little more. I feel like some of the writing, like when I was writing the first and second drafts, I got into a specific tone of writing that's very, a little ominous and a little withdrawn, I guess you could say, and I don't think it reads well. I think it's a little too dramatic, I guess you could say. So after I'm done with this initial revision, I'm going to go back, read it again, and read it fresh after I make all the edits, and then I'm expecting to do at least another 2 drafts. I mean, 1 for sure. I'm gonna have to do 4 drafts of this little book, but I'm prepared to do 5. So that's kind of where Project Painter is at the moment. My last video, I pulled out a little notebook and I started the research notes for this story, because the story takes place around 1925, and I needed to research what was happening in like this industrial age, kind of where technology was with regarding transportation and trains at this point, because there's a section that talks a little bit about the railroad. So I just needed to go back and make sure I refresh on my history of that time and what was happening in general. And I find that as I do that, that I'm thirsty to add more detail to make this seem like it's in a realistic setting. And so I like that, because sometimes I used to feel like if I wrote a novel without certain details, that it felt timeless. Make sense? Like if I don't add specifically what time it is, or specifically nothing about clothes or technology or electricity, like it's just a story that can feel generally timeless. And I don't think I have that skill yet where I think it will be successful in feeling timeless if I don't add certain details. So I kind of feel like convicted within myself to go back and add those details, and then work really hard on conveying the message so that portion will be a timeless quality. So that's kind of where I'm at with Project Painter. It's a fun side, to Project Tears. I think Project Tears is like the big project that seems to take up the most effort and the most energy from my creative mind. Project Painter, so Project Tears is the big one. Project Painter is something kind of new. I've never written, well, I haven't spent as much time on writing this particular age group of book. So this is like something I know I can do for sure. I just need to exercise those muscles a little bit, get a little bit more toned in that age group of writing. And then the children's books, the Sugarcane Lane books are easy. I can crank those out in no time. They're just the money bringers in, the ones that my community really loves and they support, and I know for sure that I can add to that series and really be successful and profitable with those series. So that's sort of where we are at the moment. I was thinking about with Project Painter, it's a coming of age story of a boy, and I feel like after I get done with it, I need to do another companion novel, not a continuation, but like a companion novel with like a coming of age story of a girl. But I'm not quite there yet. I've had some ideas for like setting. I'm thinking maybe like late 19th century London kind of setting, or maybe like a Boston, like late 1900s Boston kind of place, like kind of like one of those early industrial age urban cities when they were starting to grow, and there's this architecture is starting to change. We're not in dirt roads anymore. We're starting to go to cobblestone and brick, and the things that make cities enhanced as far as subways and plumbing and electricity and things that start to really make these places a little bit better places to live, as far as like the industrial age and stuff like that. Just kind of that's kind of where my brain is at for this. And so I'm not going to spend too much time on that, because I want my brain energy to be devoted to Project Tears and Project Painter at this moment. Like at this moment in time, Project Painter for me is due at the end of January. I've given myself that much time to finish this 3rd round, go back and do a 4th round. And then if I'm going to be a little sad with myself if I don't want to push Project Painter past January. And that being said, I'm going to say that because it's going to segue into my next thing. So education, because I'm a teacher, right? I have taught many grades all the way from 1st to 10th. Like 1st grade through 10th grade, I have had personal contact with every single grade in a classroom setting of some sort. And while I love my classroom setting, my in-person brick and mortar job, Another aspect that is bookended by classroom teaching and authorship is online teaching. I love online teaching. I created a little bit of content not long ago about my online teaching experiences, which began with an ESL program called Q Kids back in like 2018, 2019. And then when I moved, I got a brick and mortar job teaching music and arts and things. But I did not teach online anymore. And I loved teaching online with Q Kids, but I did not like the schedule. And I remember telling myself, man, I wish there was an online teaching platform that allowed me to teach in the mornings and the afternoons and make myself a normal day schedule and then have afternoons with my family and be able to sleep at night and sleep at a normal time instead of staying up late and getting up super early to teach these classes. But lo and behold, I did not know it, but there was a platform that in 2020 really started to blow up, when the pandemic was happening. It really picked up in 2019, I think, is what I'm seeing evidence of. And then 2020, 2021, 2022 is when it was just blown up. And that website is outschool.com. And I joined in middle of 2023, I think. So summer 2023, I started with the Summer Bridge course, which we did really well. And I was super excited. But against all evidence, it is still a marketplace, an education marketplace. So it's not guaranteed enrollments, and it's just parents buy classes based on what their needs are. So they serve homeschool families, they serve public school families, they serve anybody that's ages 3 to 18 for all kinds of classes, academic-based, hobby-based, interest-based, all those things. And it's a wonderful website. It made me love online teaching. I just love online teaching. Like, it is a secondary fun thing that almost doesn't feel like a job. Like, I feel like, whoa, blessed to get paid to do online teaching. So I just love online teaching. Every kid I've met is incredible, at least on the OutSchool platform. Well, time goes on, and like I said, it's a marketplace, and so I've had some intense seasons of no enrollments, no business, and you can't blame yourself because it doesn't have anything to do with me and my classes. It's just, it's a marketplace, and sometimes people are looking for academics in the fall and academics in the spring, not, interest-based or hobby-based. And so I've experienced a bunch of different seasons where, some semesters I've had maybe 2 enrollments, and then some semesters I've had 10, 20, 30 kids enroll. And I'm like, wow, this is great. Things are looking up. And then it kind of dips again after that. But I follow the the old phrase, the old adage, never put all your eggs in one basket. So I started thinking and looking and praying and just hoping for another place to do this kind of teaching, but I never saw any. OutSchool was one of the only places that I ever saw that allowed you to create your own curriculum, set your own prices, do your own thing during the daytime, at least the time zone that I'm in. And I never saw anything else. And so it's just kind of what it was. So, but a few months ago, maybe like 2 months ago, I happened to be in a Facebook group, and I saw a link to another website, another education marketplace called Wonderwell Learning. So Wonderwell Learning is a education marketplace that offers both secular and faith-based classes. And I wanted to sit down and make this video today because just this morning I had my interview with their CEO, Sandy, and it went so wonderful, and I'm so excited to get onboarded. And I love that, I know it's a hot topic, but I love that I can teach anything that I want on this platform, both secular and faith-based. So I can tie in, things regarding, just like my own personal, Christian faith. I can talk to students who sign up for my classes, knowing that that's what they're signing up for, and say, here's how, this particular thing, connects to, the book of Psalms or the book of Proverbs or something like that. So I'm really excited about that. But I just had an interview this morning. It went really, really well. I'm really excited to just kind of have this other resource on hand as well. And so I hope to, in the future, talk a little bit more about my journey with Wonderwell. And I'm really excited about it. So anyway, that's where I am. And I segued into education because Project Painter is going to end up being my own book, my own curriculum that I use in a book study for a class in the future. As far as education goes, I have some goals for education. So on OutSchool, you can do self-paced classes, which are pre-filmed, pre-recorded, and kids complete them at their own pace. So it's not live classes, which is what many of those classes were originally. So I can film this almost like a course that I sell, and OutSchool will sell it for me. So it'll be just me normally, and I'll just make a filmed version of whatever class I want. And then I post it, and it just, kids sign up for it, and I never have to actually sit down and teach. I just have to answer questions or answer emails, which is cool for like residual income, you know, so something that's like passive and residual. So I have a goal of kind of doing that, because I still, while I love OutSchool, and even though, according to a few minutes ago when I said I wasn't getting a lot of enrollments, I still get some, and I meet really good kids, really great kids who are so creative, because I teach creative writing and like fantasy-based classes, drawing, sketching, writing short stories, world building is my favorite thing to teach. And it's just been a beautiful experience. It's enhanced and enriched my life so much. But now I can add Wonderwell Learning to that, and just teach so much more and teach that much more. So I am really, really excited about that. And what I love about those websites is mostly because it is a business that is in my hands. I'm an independent contractor with these websites, and I set my own prices. I schedule when I want, and so the flexibility is really what appeals to me and what I love the most, because my kids are really small right now, and I value my time with them, because they're never going to be this small again. And so I really value the time that I have with them and how simple life is right now with them being so small. So I'm really leaning into that and enjoying that and loving that, at least for the past almost year and a half. And so that's been a wonderful stage of my life that I've been in. So, and I think that OutSchool and Wonderwell Learning are going to be a wonderful addition. So if my kids are ever napping one day, or they get into this rhythm where I know that they're going to be, you know, one of them's at a horse lesson, or one of them is at their grandparents' house on this day, or one of them is here and there, I can schedule some just extra classes in there and have them have some students book, and, you know, just make a little bit of extra money and meet some wonderful kids along the way. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment with all of my projects and education and teaching. So I find that I love doing these check-ins, but I'll also, if you log on here and you start watching some of these videos, if you'll leave a comment about some things that you would like to see, I might even leave a poll. Would you like to see more check-ins? Would you like to see educational videos for kids, creative writing, teaching videos for adults? I don't know, do you want a writing cohort where we just kind of, I present writing things to you that you can take off and do on your own? Like what is my purpose here? I know that I'm going to continue making these videos to chronicle my journey with Project Tears and with Project Painter and the world of Sugarcane Lane, because I just love sharing that with the world. But as far as education goes, I would love to hear kind of what you would look for, what you would see as far as brick and mortar teaching, online teaching, from an educator point of view. So anyway, I hope you have a really wonderful day. Thank you for joining me again. I guess I will see you on the next video. So have a great day. Hopefully in my next video, I'll be able to say that I made it halfway to 50,000 words. So root me on. I'm making it to 50,000 words by next week. So I have around 5,900 and something words to go, 5,800 something words to go. So I'm really pumped about that. But anyway, I will see you in the next video, and I hope you have a lovely, lovely week in January. Have a great day.